Do people in Canada have cable, like other people?
We keep this up in the playoffs. I don't care.
And at Chili's. Is it a Chili's?
Achilles.
Finally.
You don't know that?
Fuck you! Get this guy the fuck out of here!
Alright, well, coming in at number 5, I got Anthony Stolars.
Now! Jets are winning the cup!
Thank you for watching and listening. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 81 of the NORDCAST. It is Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024. It is the first podcast of the Christmas season. I am your host here, Nordic, joined with Kata and Just Carter. How we doing?
It is just me again. Jack is still on the injured reserve. So hopefully we're gonna activate him soon and get him to return to play. But we're doing pretty good here. No real complaints going over here.
We're coming up on LTIR soon for Jack. I think we are actually already there. Yeah. All right. Well, we have a very fun episode here for you guys. A lot of Four Nations, a lot of World Juniors, a lot of NCAA, CHL talk here for you guys this episode. We're going to start off with two trades that happened across the National Hockey League this past weekend that we missed, involving, first off, we'll start off with the David Jiricek deal, where the Columbus Blue Jackets acquired defenseman David Jiricek, or the Minnesota Wild acquired defenseman David Jiricek, a 2025 fifth-round pick. The Columbus Blue Jackets got defenseman Onnnnn, a conditional 2025 first, which is just top 5 protected, a 2027 second, 2026 third, 2026 fourth. The third belongs to Colorado. The fourth belongs to Toronto. So this is an interesting deal. Jiricek was a 6th overall pick a couple seasons ago. It's pretty shocking that after 53 games in the National Hockey League, the Columbus Blue Jackets are giving up on him here. So, Carter, when you saw this trade, were you surprised?
I mean, not really, because I think everyone kind of knew Jiricek was getting dealt. It was just a matter of where and who was going to give up the assets for him. And I think that Minnesota made a tremendous trade, and I think so did the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think that this was kind of a win-win deal. Obviously, it kind of sucks for Columbus. You got to move off from your 6th overall pick. But at the same time, this was not their current GM's guy. He was not the guy who made the selection, so obviously he doesn't hold that kind of compassion towards David Jiricek as the GM who took him did. So it might have been a little easier to move off of him, but at the same time, I mean, not ideal if you are a Columbus Blue Jackets fan, because you're losing a very solid, very physical defenseman in David Jiricek, and not Iowa, that's the AHL team. Minnesota got a very good player in David Jiricek. I think he makes his debut coming up soon, so we'll see him in Minnesota, but they got a great decor over there in Minnesota. Like, it's young and good.
Yes. Are you surprised that the return was this much, or is this kind of expected for a 6th overall pick for you?
I mean, for a 6th overall pick who's shown flashes of being very good, he's been very good in the minors. He had 3 points through 4 games with the Cleveland Monsters this year. So he's been good in the minors, and I mean, as a defenseman this year, I mean, he put up a point in 6 games with the Columbus Blue Jackets, and he was kind of not happy with his minutes. So obviously just wasn't getting ice time with Columbus. So we're going to see what he does in Minnesota. I was not shocked to see that the return was really that high. I think a lot of teams were probably calling about Jiricek, and Minnesota wanted to make sure that they could get him. And I mean, as I said, that decor, him, Faber, like, there's not only that, Ziv Buium there too. Like, they got a very nice group of 3 defensemen there.
So I'm looking at a projected top 4 from NHL feeds, and it shows Ziv Buium and Brock Faber as your first pairing, and then Jonas Brodin and David Jiricek as your second pairing. So, again, remarkable top 4. Carter, I got to ask you this, though. We're both Flyers fans. Does this return with Jiricek kind of make you a little bit annoyed that we didn't get that much for Cutter Gauthier?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I mean it does. I mean, not getting a first round pick for him kind of sucks. But I mean, not much that we could really do there. And I mean, you look at the 2022 draft, and there is not a lot of guys. There's 3 guys in the top 10 who are no longer with the team that drafted them: Cutter Gauthier, David Jiricek, and Matthew Savoy. So, and then you could even take it a step further and go in the top 11. Connor Geeky was gone there too. So that's 4 out of the first 11 picks traded. There's McGroarty as well. Like, there's so many guys who were taken in this first round who are no longer with the team that drafted them, and it's crazy to see. So
yeah, I've noticed there's a lot of guys in that draft who seem to have left their old drafted teams, like the guys you mentioned. But as well as that too, there's other guys who were picked later on in that draft who are still playing either in juniors or in college and have not signed yet with their team. Jimmy Snuggerud has not yet signed a contract with the St. Louis Blues. He's playing in Minnesota. Danila Yurov is not signed with the Wild, even though he's in the KHL, so it kind of makes a little bit of sense. Even someone like Sam Rinzel, who was a 25th overall pick by Chicago, he's still with Minnesota as well. So it makes you wonder if maybe those are 2 or 3 other guys there that could get moved on in the future. Again, they're later round picks, and they haven't signed yet, and we're almost 3 years removed from that draft. So you can't help but be a little bit concerned about that. But again, that's just us purely speculating, at least as of right now. Next up, then, we have a trade between the Colorado Avalanche and the Nashville Predators, where the Avalanche acquired goaltender Scott Wedgewood from the Nashville Predators. And in exchange, the Nashville Predators acquired goaltender Justice Onnnnn and a 2025 6th-round pick. So this is Colorado kind of trying to solve their goalie issue right now, and I think Wedgewood seems like more of a temporary solution to a more long-term problem. But I don't know, Carter, what do you think about this?
yeah, I mean, Wedgewood is a good goalie, don't get me wrong, but he is not the long-term fix for the Colorado Avalanche. Definitely not, in my eyes. They're giving up on Justice Onnnnn, who's 24 years old. I mean, he didn't post 2 great numbers this year, finally getting his chance at the full backup potential starter role. Through 11 games, he posted a .323 goals against average and an .872 save percentage. So not very good, to say the least there.
Yeah, I do think he will be better in Colorado, but overall his numbers aren't that great. Onnnn's numbers aren't particularly
That
either, though.
was Onnnnn.
Oh, that was? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. So yeah, I think that, again, Onnnn's numbers really weren't that good either. I think Wedgewood will be a better option in Colorado for sure, as long as it's not Alex Georgiev. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. I want to move on to something that is going to take up the big bulk of our time here, besides the 4 nations. It is the Canada World Junior Camp Invites. So the World Junior Hockey Canada released their camp invites for the 2025 World Junior Championship, and there were a lot of notable players who were left off the list, most notably Carter Yakimchuk, Zane Perrick, Tisha Ginla, Beckett Seneca, Colby Barlow, and Carter is the World Junior guru here. He is the big Canada World Junior fan. So with those guys being snubbed, how are you feeling about Canada's chances?
What the fuck are we doing?
Ooh. Going in here
Like, this is actually, like, ridiculous to me. You leave off the number 6 pick, the number 3 pick, the number 7 pick, the number 9 pick, and then the number 11 pick in the draft. Not to mention, like, there's still so many guys that deserve a shot at this. I understand, yes, it's a 19-year-old tournament. I don't care. These guys were top 10 picks last year, and you have, like, some guys who should not be, like, in here. Like, Team Canada would realistically, like, oh my, like, the guys that they left off, that's a first line right there. Like, I understand that 3 of them are defensemen, so that doesn't really make sense. But you get my point, all right? Those are first line, first pairing players on this Team Canada team. Like, not just in general, in this Team Canada team. All right, not for next year. For this year, those guys are top players. And we're just not bringing them?
You have to have defensive defensemen, though. That's the thing. And guys like Zane Perrick and Yakimchuk aren't really defensive, but still, like
it does for Canada. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. You're right.
It doesn't matter. Like I guess this was technically Yakimchuk's last chance to make it because 1, he's going to be brought to Ottawa next year. 2, he's going to be 20 next year. So he won't be eligible for the tournament. I don't know why he's not getting his chance. Beckett Seneca, one of the fastest players in the league, was taken 3rd overall for a reason based on his potential, and he's living up to it this year. He's got 36 points through 23 games for the Oshawa Generals, which I think, if I'm correct, also leads them in points. Like, we're not taking the top players from last year's draft, but we'll bring in the top players for this year's draft. I don't see how that makes sense. I don't see why Michael Misa should get a chance to play on this team, and yet Beckett, Tej, Yakimchuk don't.
Carter, Misa's not even on this team either.
Wait, he's not on it?
No, he's not on this team either.
Oh, what the fuck? I thought he was on. That's even worse. How does he not get an invite? Okay. All right.
Porter Matone's in there.
That makes sense because he's a top pick this year.
Andrew Crystal, Easton Cowan, Berkeley Cann, Denver Barkey, Cole Vadoin, Bradley Nadeau, Gavin McKenna, Luca Pinelli, Carson Repkov, Callum Ritchie, Matthew Wood, Braden Yeager. Those are the guys who were mentioned on the offense. The defense, Oliver Bonk, Sam Dickinson, Tanner Mollendijk, Matthew Schaefer, Caden Price, Harrison Brunick were the most notable guys there for me. So, again, just it's a little shocking that some of these guys don't get the nod over a few of these other prospects. The other guys I can see the argument for, but like Zane Perrick not being on there is pretty crazy, to be honest.
What? You could see the argument for Tej Ginla not being on?
No, I mean on the defensive end. I can understand Yakimchuk maybe not making it because he might be a fringe defender, but for someone like Perrick is a little crazy. I don't know. The forwards, it's already stacked. Canada is really good at every position. So I understand the fact that there are going to be good players who are cut off. So I don't know. We shall see.
It's ridiculous.
All right. You want to look at Team USA's? Have you seen Team USA's?
No, but I know that I'm not scared.
I'll send it to you real quick here on Snapchat real quick. So Team USA also announced theirs too. I'm going to be honest. I'm not really that scared of Team USA's either. It's really not that strong. It's still a good team, very top heavy. I think we talked about this in the summer, but it's still not particularly strong. They have Trey Augustine in net. That's their biggest strength. They got guys like Zeev Boyum, EJ Emery, Cole Hudson, Logan Hensler on the defense. On the forward core, you got guys like Trevor Connolly, Cole Iserman, James Higgins, Ryan Leonard, Oliver Moore, Dave Perrault, Teddy Stiga, Danny Nelson. But apart from that, it's not the strongest team either. So I don't know. Canada's definitely better for sure. Carter has a big smile on his face, but overall, I think that for sure it's going to be an interesting tournament. And again, we're not looking at Team Sweden or Team Finland or anything like that, but still interesting. What are you thinking, Carter? Looking at that roster,
there's not a lot of good bright spots. I'm gonna be honest. There's not a lot of good crazy players.
The top 6 is good. The first pairing on the D core is good. Apart from that, it's
that's all you got. And your goalie. Your goalie's good. USA always has a goalie that does really well in these tournaments and usually brings them pretty far. So Trey Augustine, I think, is a guy that I think could help. If he's not playing up to a high standard, I don't see Team USA being a big threat.
Yeah, it might be Sweden and even Czechia who's competing there. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, this could get interesting. I don't know. We have not seen Sweden or Czechia's camps, so we can't really talk about them. But we have seen Team Canada and Team USA's, and they're definitely interesting to say the least. Again, we'll talk more about that when it comes to when we get to the World Juniors in like 2 weeks, probably 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we're coming up to that point, but let's move on to something else that really caught my eye, Carter, before we get into the big reveal of our Four Nations rosters. So there were reports today from Bleacher Report that it seems like the NCAA is heavily linked to top CHL players and possible transfers. So it looks like Boston University is reportedly interested in Michael Misa, and Gavin McKenna and Porter Matone are rumored to exit their player contracts to enroll at the University of Michigan. That would be absolutely insane, seeing probably the first and second overall picks of this upcoming draft playing on the same team. I think the last time that's happened was Owen Power and Matty Beniers. Pretty sure.
Didn't Beniers go 3?
Beniers went 2.
Okay, then I'm stupid.
Yeah, but Carter, you're a Canadian hearing this, and you hear that the NCAA is trying to steal your CHL players. How do you feel about this? Especially seeing someone like McKenna, who's kind of close to you. I know he's not that close to you, but he's still kind of close to you.
What do you mean close to me?
Medicine Hat, isn't that near Winnipeg?
No.
It's in the same region. It's in the Western Hockey League.
Dude, Kelowna. There's the Kelowna Rockets are in this league. They're in Vancouver. That's not close.
Okay, it's still the Western Hockey League.
Oh my god. We don't have a Western Hockey League team anymore, so thanks for bringing that up again.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, that's right. I forgot. Shut up. Anyways,
continue what you think about that.
So here's the thing. I'm all for it, but it also does kind of suck because Canada doesn't have a league like the NCAA. We don't have a good kind of next step after junior because NCAA is the next closest hockey after junior to the pro game, NHL, AHL, all that kind of thing. Canada doesn't really have that, which sucks. Now, for the sake of the CHL as a whole, it's going to suck because you might not get these 18-year-old seasons where, you see Connor Bedard playing unreal and he's selling tickets like crazy. Like, you're going to miss that in Gavin McKenna next year if he does decide to go play as a 17-year-old, which I think he probably could. But we're seeing this a lot in sports where 17-year-olds are going to play. Like, you look at Ryan Williams, who's a wide receiver on Alabama. He's 17 years old, and he was tearing it up in the SEC. He was like top 10, top 6 or something in receiving yards. Like, Gavin McKenna is going to put up numbers in that league. So it sucks, obviously, losing out on some big top end kind of talent in the CHL. But I think for the development of Canadian players as a whole, I think the NCAA is going to be a great route for them to go. I think, like, you look at Macklin Celebrini, who let's say he did play junior. I know that with COVID, everything kind of flipped on him and everything and stuff. He's Canadian. But you look at a guy like him and, like, you could just imagine the numbers he would have put up in the CHL, right? And he would have played unreal, but, like, it might not have held that same weight as when he won the Hobey Baker and pretty much led the league in points, led the NCAA, in points. Like, it's ridiculous. So, that's all I got to say. I think for the sake of Canada, junior hockey, not good. For the sake of Canadian players as a whole, it's great. And then also for the NCAA, I mean, getting top end talent from Canada you're destined for success.
Yeah, you're getting loaded players right there. Those guys from the CHL who are probably the next best thing. It's really interesting. We even said that it's good for the players when the rule got overturned with the court ruling. This is still good for the players, just not so great for the Canadian hockey markets in the juniors for sure. Losing your top 3 probably best players over there right now, besides maybe like someone like Crystal or there's guys there that are performing well. But again, It's very interesting to see, and I'm really wondering where it's going to go from here, because I think that is a headline that is going to be followed for a while here, and we may not hear anything about this until, I would say, off season, because that's when commitments like that and stuff happen. But overall, if that does happen, it's going to be an absolutely bonkers off season. It's going to be pretty wild seeing that stuff happen.
Yeah.
Okay, Carter. That's all I have for news. I don't know if you saw anything that was really newsworthy. Oh, you did. What you got?
Winnipeg Jets prospect Braden Yeager was traded from Moose Jaw recently to the Lethbridge Hurricanes. As we were just talking about CHL, and there's a little CHL trade action.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure. They usually do involve all of those picks, right?
Yeah, its picks go crazy because it's hard to find really good CHL talent. Like, you can find it in the late stages of it, or late stages of the draft. So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that that will be interesting. We always see that happen a lot. There's always usually like a huge CHL trade, or multiple, actually. They're usually pretty huge with all the picks that go through. Any trending players that really caught your mind this past week, Carter? Do you have any?
Trending players, hey?
Because I have one. It involves the Flyers.
Tell me your trending player and I'll pull up mine.
All right, my trending player is Matvei Michkov. So I know we've probably talked about him a bunch, but Michkov has tied the record for most overtime goals as a teenager, tying him with Rick Nash, Ilya Kovalchuk, and Sidney Crosby. And I know this was a little bit ago, but after his overtime goal against Chicago, there was a tweet put out by Charlie O'Connor, which said, Michkov on his early NHL career knack for clutch goals. He said, quote, "There's not many moments you're going to get to make big plays in the clutch. So when you get the moment, you have to be cold-blooded and finish it." That is pretty awesome to hear. He is already looking like an incredible player at just 19 years old. So he was somebody who really struck me this past week as a player who I thought was really trending. Who's another guy you have, Carter?
I got a couple guys. I got a little set of pairs here. So my first pair is going to be Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith. Macklin Celebrini obviously winning NHL Player of the Month as a rookie. That is very impressive. He had a tremendous comeback after his injury this month. He looked absolutely unreal. Could not be stopped. Really keeping that Michkov at bay with the Calder Trophy. My other one, Will Smith, he started to look really good as of late. He's put up a lot of very good points in November. So he's looking really good. I think really starting to find his groove. And then my last two pair of trending players, it's the Hughes brothers, Quinn and Jack. Quinn put up 9 points in his last 4 games last week. So that is very impressive for a defenseman. And then Jack Hughes, he had 8 points in the last 4 games for him. So a very good job by the two brothers, completely just dominating in the NHL. And I can't imagine that Luke is too far behind here.
Now, that was something that I wanted to bring up with Jack Hughes. Have you seen the thing that happened where a reporter from the Rangers, or like an intermission guy from the Rangers, said that he was playing, quote, Instagram hockey? Did you see that?
No, I didn't actually.
I'm going to pull it up and play it right here. We shouldn't get copyrighted for it. I really hope we don't, but I'll play it right here for you.
That you were trying to embarrass Shesterkin. Just take me through that, and what was your reaction to hearing that?
Oh, I guess I can hear this.
Hughes set out to embarrass Shesterkin there by slowing down and going to one hand. And that should send a shockwave to everybody on the bench. I know in my day that Colt Nor would have been hanging over the bench, banging his stick, saying, "I'm coming after you," because you tried to embarrass us. And that's blatant disrespect. And I'm sort of surprised I didn't see a response from the team that way. Hughes.
What did he said to that?
He said he thought you were trying to embarrass Shesterkin on that breakaway when you went to the Forsberg.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what that means. Like, what does that even mean? Yeah, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah,
Does it have the play?
I think. Did you look at the play?
I'll quickly look at it. You talk about it.
Here, I sent it. I sent it in the group chat. It is literally, he's literally on a breakaway. All he does is just try and do like a little one-hander to try and put it past Shesterkin on the one end. Like, he doesn't even like really try to do anything that serious, like that crazy. Yeah, I know. Like, it's pretty ridiculous. Like, I don't understand.
I guarantee Jack Hughes does that to any team other than the Rangers. That guy doesn't give a fuck. But because it's the Rangers and it's his job, he's gonna care. But like, dude, come on. It's Jack Hughes. He's a skilled enough player to be able to do that. And it's a move that's been done before. It's not like Jack Hughes trying to embarrass someone. Kucherov with the no move. That's embarrassing. Getting got on the no move. But the more embarrassing part, getting beat on it twice. So like there's embarrassing plays that can happen. Getting embarrassed, that's not one of them. That's a move that's been done for years. And it's not embarrassing, but you have a problem with it because one, it's Jack Hughes. You're going to get clicks if you bring up his name, and because it's against the New York Rangers, who you happen to work for and probably love. Like, no one is going to go after Jack Hughes for attempting a one-hand tuck.
Yeah, 100%. Three more things that I want to bring up before we move into our Four Nations roster reveal. Patrick Laine is back, Carter. He is making a season debut tonight for the Montreal Canadiens against the New York Islanders. It's 7:47. Has he scored? Has he scored yet today?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it's 0-0 in the first intermission. Thought I'd look at that. But great for Laine. We talked about Laine a bunch in the offseason and in the preseason. So good to see that he is returning in early December. Also, Michael Misa and Porter Martone. We talked about them a little bit earlier with the NCAA commitment thing, but they both recorded Gordie Howe hat tricks in the same game. That's pretty remarkable to look at when you see that. And then one last thing here, unless Carter has something before we move into Four Nations. Tonight, the Calgary Flames play the Columbus Blue Jackets in Calgary, and we've seen a lot of great tributes and a lot of great things about Johnny Gaudreau this past week, and seeing that his family's going to be there is also great news as well. So, yeah, overall, I think it's very happy to see, that this is happening, and it sucks that it's under these circumstances, but it's going to be pretty awesome to watch them honor a player who was so awesome in his time for sure. All right, Carter, do you have anything else you want to talk about here before we move into our Four Nations roster reveal?
Last thing before we head into Four Nations, I just find it really funny that we were talking about Colorado and goaltending, and they're down 4-0 to Buffalo.
What?
Yeah. I haven't looked yet, but I'm gonna look right. Georgiev, 4 goals on 8 shots, and Wedgewood is already in.
Holy crap! You can't sit here and tell me that is not a problem. Like, come on. I'm looking at the Real app right now. You know how you can comment on players' things? It shows like McKinnon 12 comments, Rantanen 0, Lehkonen 0, Parker Kelly 0, Alex Georgiev 170 comments. Oh my god! And all the comments are just like for Giev, and they're sending China flags. Oh boy, yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm trying to just see how bad these goals are.
4-0 to Buffalo is pretty insane.
That one's a bad rebound. I don't know. This is just hilarious.
Thompson has 2 goals on 2 shots. Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on from making fun of Colorado to our Four Nations rosters for the 2025 Four Nations tournament. So these were purely made by us. So I would like to just say that Carter made Canada, Jack made USA, I made Finland and Sweden. So we kind of split it up here a little bit. But we're going to go through our rosters here. We're going to start off with Canada because Carter, this is his team. He's going to be rolling us through it here and kind of giving us his thoughts. So, Carter, after each line that we go through, I want you to give a little bit of a quick overview of why you have some of these players on this team. It may be pretty obvious why, but and it'll prompt some discussions as well. So, if you're ready to go here, I have it pulled up on the screen for everyone to read, and we'll read it for the audio listeners.
You want me to read? All right.
Yeah.
First line, down the middle, we got Connor McDavid with Sam Reinhart on his left and Mark Stone on the right. I think that obviously Connor McDavid is going to be the first line center. Sam Reinhart is a pure goal scorer, so having McDavid be able to get him the puck is going to be very good. And then you get Mark Stone, who's a little bit of that power forward, but also an unreal playmaker on that line. So I think that line is going to be filled of get the puck to McDavid or Reinhart, and Stone's going to rack up a lot of assists. But when he gets that puck on his stick, he is going to put it in the basket.
Yeah, barring that Mark Stone is not injured, I think that he will most likely be on this Canada team. If not, I think that there's definitely some interesting points that we can pull out of there as well. Again, very good first line. You have Reinhart who can score. McDavid is McDavid. I think it's a great first line.
Yeah. All right. Second line. I kind of tried to get a little bit of chemistry going here. So we got the Nova Scotia boys. We got Sidney Crosby down the middle. We got Nathan McKinnon on the right and Brad Marchand on the left. The chemistry is going to be very good on this line. So fast, so skilled. There's so many great things you could say about this line. You got probably one of the best players of all time in Sidney Crosby, a top 5 player of all time. And Nathan McKinnon, who is a top 3 player in the NHL right now. And then Brad Marchand, who's kind of having a little bit of an off year. But I think once he gets to that 4 Nations, kind of ease the stress of the season off his shoulders a little bit, I think Brad Marchand is going to do very well in this tournament.
Yeah, Crosby with McKinnon, come on, like that's elite. Like on a second line too, let alone on a Team Canada, like that top 6 already is very stacked as it is.
Yeah, I agree. That top 6 is one of the best that you could have.
I think it's the best in the tournament, in my opinion. I think that's better than Team USA's, in my eyes.
Yeah, it's definitely up there for sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Third line, we got Braden Point down the middle with Mitch Marner on the right and Mark Scheifele on the left. I have him making this roster as a winger because there's a lot of good centermen in this who win a lot of faceoffs, and I think having Scheifele on the wing would be really good. Braden Point, I mean, there's so much you can say about this guy. He's so fast, so skilled. He's so good with the puck. And then you also get Mitch Marner, who's kind of the same player as Braden Point. So having those two guys, and then Scheifele, who's going to be a little bit of a bigger body, who's kind of starting to hit a little bit more, which is nice, which can help. I think you're getting a less skilled version of that McDavid, Reinhart, Stone line, with kind of Scheifele playing that Mark Stone type role. That's kind of what I went for in this, is having guys who can score and then having a guy who can help make them pay, go in the corners, do everything like that. So that's kind of that third line there.
Yeah, I like the third line. Braden Point still, I think, is one of the most underrated centers in the entire NHL. Scheifele on the wing makes a ton of sense. Again, there's some really good centers. I think he probably does make it as a wing. And then Marner's a great offensive player, puts up a lot of points. The fourth line, though, I think is going to cause some discussion. That's what I think the top 9 is pretty, kind of a lock, I would
pretty
say.
much in, yeah.
Yeah. The fourth line and the extra forward is really where there was a lot of discussions of who could really make this team.
Yeah, I think there's so much discussion for guys who should be on this team and guys who will be on this team. But this is my list, so I'm not listening to it. So for my fourth line center, I have Nick Suzuki. I think Canada needs a guy who can play that defensive kind of center role, and I think that he's been a player that has been in Selke conversations since he entered the league. He's been really good at both ends of the ice. Then you get Dylan Strome, who is having a breakout year. He kind of broke out a little bit last year, but I think we're really starting to see why he was a 3rd overall pick 9 years ago. It's crazy to think that 9 years ago, I mean, he entered the league, and then a few years ago, he was called as a bust, right?
He didn't get qualified by Chicago, and then
crazy. wasn't qualified by Chicago, he was dealt out of Phoenix. Like, there was so much like drama that built up around Dylan Strome.
I forgot he was on Phoenix.
Yeah, he was originally drafted by Phoenix, 3rd overall pick, and I mean, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how long it took for him to finally reach that 3rd overall pick status that he was destined for, and he has taken his opportunity in Washington and fucking ran with it.
He should be on this for sure.
He should be like off this season. He's been good.
To the Ovechkin this year, like
yeah,
that's what he has been for the Capitals. So he should be on that side. I love Suzuki though. Suzuki's a great what?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. Suzuki's a great center, good 4th liner. Konechny, it looks like he's making the team. So that's honestly, it makes me very happy to hear that as a Flyers fan. Konechny had 20 points in the month of November, so that's a trending player right there for you. But overall, I think that forward core is awesome. And then you have Barzal as your 5th line guy, extra player. Carter, you did make a 5th line. Who did you have on that 5th line, just for fun?
Yeah, so I did have a 5th line because I kind of threw just a couple extra guys because I didn't really realize how many guys you could bring. So I made a 5th line. My 5th line was going to be Anthony Cirelli down the center, who's having a really good year in Tampa. The left winger was going to be Alexis Lafreniere. I think when he's played with that Team Canada logo on the front of his chest, he's looked really good. And then the right winger was going to be Matthew Barzal. So that was going to be my 5th line, but it's just going to stick with Matthew Barzal as the centerman here.
Yeah, I'm good with Barzal. Talk about that blue line a little bit, because that blue line is pretty solid.
Yeah, so obviously the blue line starting it off, it's Makar and Taves, 2 of the best defensemen. Not only that, you get them both playing for Canada. They already play on the same team. Like, so you already have that chemistry. So that is going to be an unreal first pairing of defensemen. There's not much you can really say on that.
Yeah, it's the best first pairing in the entire NHL.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
They're a shoo-in. No one was going to question it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Makar's a lock. I don't know if Taves is a lock, but I know for sure.
There's no way Taves is not a lock.
Taves is, well, no, what I'm saying is that the locks to make the tournament.
Oh, he wasn't listed as a lock, right?
Yes. Makar
he wasn't listed as a lock, but I think consensus-wise, everyone knows he's a lock.
Yes. All right, that second pairing I like a lot, and I know you love it too.
I love it too. My second pairing, we got Noah Dobson and Josh Norrisy. Two great defensemen, 2 top pairing guys on their respective teams. Morrissey, obviously, he's broken out over the last 2 years. Noah Dobson as well. He's been pretty consistent as of late, and I love Noah Dobson. I think he's a great player. I think you're going to get a lot of good offensive upside out of both of these guys, and they're also not shy to play that defensive side of the game as well.
Yeah, I like that second pairing a lot. Morrissey really, I love Morrissey. Morrissey is like one of my favorite defensemen out there. Not just the starter has put his propaganda into me, but he is a great defenseman and really carries that blue line for Winnipeg. Dobson, kind of the same thing for the Islanders, to be honest with you. It's a great second pairing. The third pairing, for this is a third pairing, I think is pretty damn good.
Yeah. So the third pairing, we got Shea Theodore. He's having a tremendous year. I really love his game. It pains me every time we have to play him because I love watching him play. But it sucks that he has to be a rival to the Winnipeg Jets. And then Dougie Hamilton. This guy has been just consistent as consistent can be. He's suffered a few injuries, but I mean, nothing too catastrophic to make me feel like he's missing out of this tournament.
And then talk about that extra. Who do you have there as the extra there, Carter?
According to some sources, Travis Sanheim is on this team. So good job, John Tortorella. Made his case to the board and got our guy in there. But I mean, it's not like it's not deserved. He is having a very good year for himself there. So I'm quite happy with giving this guy a spot on the roster.
Yeah, the longtime listeners will know that we're both Flyers fans, and seeing two Flyers make a Team Canada roster, even if it is 4 nations, does make me pretty happy.
Makes you smile.
Yeah, it does make you smile, especially with how, not positive this team has been in recent memory for sure. All right, let's talk about those goalies. This is the biggest X factor for Canada. Who did you roll with?
Okay, so I'm going to preface this at the start here. I don't have a set G1, G2, G3. Any of these goalies can go into this tournament and play. These are my 3 goalies that I think will make the team. And I think from when they're announced as making the team to when the tournament starts, that is when we are going to know who the starter is. I don't think there's an announcement for who's going to be G1, G2, G3. So I don't know. No one knows. I don't even think any of the goalies know. Team Canada doesn't know. They're going to go with whatever goalie's hot coming into this tournament.
Yeah, it's interesting that, again, I think that it's possible we may not even see, a starting goalie. They may, do a rotation.
Yeah, they might run a goalie a period. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, screw it. If Binnington is what Binnington is, I wouldn't put it past them. Again, I think Armstrong's the GM of Canada, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so that's probably why Binnington is going to get in there for sure.
So my 3 goalies are no specific order: Aiden Hill, Cam Talbot, Jordan Binnington. Whoever's got the hot hand coming into the tournament is going to take the crease for Team Canada here.
Right now, I would say it looks like either Aiden Hill or Cam Talbot. Talbot's looked great in Detroit.
He's looked very good.
Talbot did just get hurt, though. So that is something you got to keep in mind. I think he'll be back by then because that's obviously it's still 2 months away. But still, you see the fact that, I think it might even be better to have 2 really good, 2 solid goalie tandem there. But again, you're looking in terms of the best of the best. So
yes,
this is definitely Canada's biggest weakness for sure, I would say. So Carter, overall, how do you feel about this team? Is this team capable to win this championship?
100%. 100%.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I figured you would say. Let's move on to Team USA. Now, Team USA was made by Jack. It wasn't made by me or Carter. It was made by Jack. And by the way, I made Sweden and Finland. I gave the guys less work. So Team USA, it really wasn't that much work. Team USA made by Jack. I would say that he got most of the things that I would put in here pretty much correct. So his first line was Jack Eichel, Austin Matthews, and Kyle Connor. I think that's a great first line. You have 2 guys who can score there in Matthews and Connor. Eichel can also score too. It's a great first line that they're rolling there. Second line, Jack Hughes, Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk. So they have both the Tkachuk brothers playing on the same line. And again, these aren't these set lineups. A lot of these I even kind of put together because he put them in a weird order. He didn't actually put them in lines. But, overall, I think that still a great top 6 there when you're running with it there. Third line, JT Miller, Dylan Larkin, and Tage Thompson. Still a good third line. Miller is on personal leave, but I imagine he'll be back for the tournament. Larkin, great center, should make this team 100%. And Tage Thompson has 2 goals on 2 shots right now against Colorado. So, that's obviously a big benefit there. And he has really kind of, brought himself back in this past, last couple of weeks here. And then the fourth line, Jason Robertson, Matt Boldy, and Clayton Keller. I love Boldy there at center. Keller's had a good year for Utah. Robertson's been slow, but I think he does make Team USA. And then Cole Caulfield's is extra. I like having a little bit of interesting take there. I don't necessarily think that Caulfield makes this team, but I love the fact that he's adding in some spice. Yeah, I don't know. I think that they're going to pick other players over Caulfield, which is annoying, but it probably is going to go that way. Carter, how do you feel about how Jack created this forward core?
I think he pretty much got it right. In my opinion, though, I think that Cole Caulfield should make this roster. I think that yes, they already have a ton of goal scoring, but at the same time, you need that bottom kind of goal scoring. And not only that, if you can get the chemistry of Matthew Boldy and Cole Caulfield on the same line, they played together in the World Juniors. They've played together kind of all throughout the UND program or the USNDP program. So I think you're going to get a lot of good chemistry out of that. So I think that realistically, this tournament, in my opinion, is going to come down to a chemistry thing. And I think that there's a lot of good chemistry on Team USA. So in my opinion, I'd put Cole Caulfield where Robertson is. But I can completely understand having Cole Caulfield as your extra.
Yeah, I completely get it too. I think I shouldn't say that I don't think he's gonna make it. I just don't know if there's a lot of goal scoring there, and Carter did mention the chemistry. I think that could play a big factor there too. The blue line, I think is actually incredible. They have Adam Fox and Quinn Hughes as his first pairing, Charlie McAvoy and Jacob Slavin as the second pairing, Zach Werenski and John Carlson as the third pairing, and then Brock Faber as his extra. You could put in a few other guys in there as the extra. Again, the extra is kind of free. I know the Northern Block Pod put in Jake Sanderson as their extra, but I really do like the blue line that they have crafted there too. A very good first pairing. It's a really stacked blue line all around. Carter, is this blue line better than Canada's though? That's my question for you. I think it's slightly better.
It's close, if not slightly better. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many good guys on that team. But there's one thing I want to say.
Oh boy.
Let's get another Winnipeg guy on that back end. Put Neil Pionk in there. Give this guy a little bit of respect.
Say that. Oh my God. No, I don't think Pionk makes this team.
Dude, come on.
Pionk, yes, I know he has 20 points, but he's probably not making this team.
But he should make this team.
If Pionk makes this team, I will be blown away.
Let's put a bet on it.
Do you want to put a bet on it?
No, I don't think he's going to make this team, but I think he should. He's having a really good year. He's got 21 points through 25 games.
He is, but again, we're missing a ton of really good players. So that's a big reason why, again, you can only have so many players on the team. Again, you would love to have someone like Pionk on there or Sanderson or somebody like that. But again, talking about a really stacked blue line here. And then the goaltending is where I think that, it really does it really does have an advantage towards the U.S. Hellebuck is your starting goaltender. Ottinger is your backup goaltender. And then Jeremy Swayman as your third string goalie. So, yeah, it's a great goalie triangle rotation they'll have there. I think Hellebuck will start the majority of the games. But, Carter, I know you love that goalie tandem because of Hellebuck being on there. But overall, how do you feel about this team?
Really good. They got hella good goaltending, no pun intended. But yeah, it's a good team.
Is this the team to beat?
No.
Okay. All right, Canadian. All right, let's move into Sweden here now. So Sweden was made by me. All of these were Sweden and Finland were both made by me. So starting off here with the first line, you got Adrian Kempe, Mika Zibanejad, and William Nylander as your first line. It's a great producing line. Zibanejad, I don't think is the first line guy, but he was a lock, so I did put him on the first line. Adrian Kempe on the left wing side can score, great goal scorer. Nylander is definitely an interesting one. He is going to be on that right wing side for me. I think he is also very productive and very good forward there too. As for your second line, Philip Forsberg, William Karlsson, Jesper Bratt as your second line. Again, that line can score. Karlsson really good down the middle center. Forsberg, we know what he can be, and then Bratt, I think, is still very good on that right wing side as well. Then you have Raymond, Pettersson, and Eriksson Ek as your third line. So that line can really connect there too. Raymond can score the most clutch goals I've ever seen just from watching last year's before the playoffs last year. Pettersson has struggled a little bit, but he still makes this team. Erickson X, a very good, underrated. Actually, he's supposed to be a center, but he's on the wing side for me there because I think the center core is just a little bit too strong. Fourth line, Ricard Raquel, Leo Carlson, and Andre Burakovsky. I think that this is a very interesting fourth line. Again, we said this for Canada and the U.S. Like, it really only matters when you get to the fourth line, because I think the top 9 is very, like, it's very set in stone. But the fourth line is where, like, we get a lot of disagreements on. Raquel is a guy who can score. He can produce some goals, secondary depth. Carlson, very good young center for Anaheim. And then Burakovsky has been producing on Seattle as well. And then Fabian Zetterlund is my extra forward there, who I think's done very good with the San Jose Sharks. So, Carter, how do you feel about this forward core that I crafted?
Really good. I like it. Do you really have Elias Pettersson on your third line?
I didn't really like take into consideration like where guys would be on. I just kind of like put them in as I went. I do think Pettersson probably is your first line. Sebastian, that's probably your third line guy. But again, I didn't really take that into consideration.
Yeah, that's fine. I think Zetterlund is a great pull. He's had a really good year. I think we touched base on him last episode when we talked about the Sharks. Love that. Burakovsky's always kind of around there for Sweden. But yeah, no, that forward core is really good.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think it's a great forward core. The defensive core is where it gets interesting. Erik Karlsson and Rasmus Dahlin as my first pairing. Karlsson, he was like an early pick. Dahlin, I think Dahlin was also an early pick. I gotta fact check that real quick. No, he was not. Gustav Forsling was actually. But overall, I think Dahlin definitely makes his team. Maybe not first pairing, but still one of the best defensemen for Buffalo and one of the best in the NHL, if I'm being honest. Victor Hedman, Gustav Forsling on that second pairing for me. I actually spelled Forsling's name wrong, but I still like Hedman, and Forsling's really good on defense. Hedman's better offensively. So I think those are two really good pairs together. Carter, what do you got? Hey, Line
Power play goal.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Sorry for yelling, all headphone users. I am sorry.
Yeah, he just exploded your phone. Lane Hudson with another assist too. Wow, you love to see that though. 100%. Line picking up.
Congratulations, Patrick Line. Still my favorite Jet of all time.
We'll get into the Finland team in a second because Line is on that for me. But
if he's not first line left wing, we're gonna have a problem.
Third pairing, Ekholm and Anderson. Ekholm very solid on that left side. Good defensively. Anderson kind of the same thing. Has had a really good rejuvenator year. And then OEL is my extra. Why not? OEL is a Swede, longtime veteran. I think that he can make it as an extra for sure. That's the only way I could really see him getting on here. Carter, I got 2 questions. First off, how do you feel about this decor?
It's pretty good. The only thing that, it doesn't really concern me, but
Karlsson on that first pairing. I'm not too keen on Karlsson being on this team though. Not a great defensive defenseman, but you do have guys like Forsling and Ekholm who may help out with the defensive struggles.
Mm-hmm. I think having Dahlin on that is really good.
Yeah. My other question for you, let me pull up Team Canada again. I meant to ask this when you went through your defense, but why no Evan Bouchard?
I'm not a huge fan of how he kind of was this year. Part of me is scared that last year was a fluke. But okay. It's okay. It's okay. I think that he's still really good. I don't have anything bad to say about Bouchard. I think he's still a very good defenseman. I just think the guys that are on this list have played better and have shown me more for longer.
I'm just going to say this. I think that Bouchard has a lot of defensive woes to his game.
Yes.
He's more offensive. I just think that the defensive side of his game, you're better off using someone who like Shea Fedor, who is better at both ends of the rink. May not be as great offensively, but is still good on both ends of the rink, as opposed to someone like Bouchard, who's kind of not really a one-dimensional player, but he's still vast.
He's more of an offensive defenseman than kind of a two-way, which is what Shea Theodore is, which is what Dougie Hamilton is, right? So you look at my top two, and they're pretty much all offensive, other than Devon Taves, who already has one of the best offensive defensemen in Cale Makar. So, I needed a little bit of defense that could also have some scoring upside. That's what Theodore and Hamilton and kind of Sanheim do, but Bouchard just doesn't.
Yeah, I can see that argument for sure. Just thought it'd be a good point to bring up when we're going through an Oilers defenseman right here. Going into the goaltending for Sweden, still very good. Jacob Markstrom is probably your starter for me. He's had a solid season this year with the Devils. Philip Gustafsson, you could even argue that he should be the starter, and I really wouldn't put it past you, to be honest. And then Linus Olmark is your third string. So again, they have three very good goalies on the goalie side there. I think that's probably one of Sweden's biggest strengths. But yeah, Carter, overall, how do you feel about this team? This is probably, I would say, the third best out of the four in this tournament.
Yeah, I think that is pretty good. But yeah, not anything standout wise.
All right, let's take a look at the final team here. We got Team Finland. Sorry, Carter, I don't have line A first line. But the first line for my Team Finland projected offense is Rupe Hintz, Alexander Barkov, and Mikko Rantanen as your first line. That's a very good first line. Barkov, great first line center. Rantanen, good on the right side. Hintz on the left. Second line, Teuvo Teravainen, Sebastian Aho, and Patrick Laine. Again, Laine just scored. He's a goal scorer. If you're going to beat these other teams in this tournament, you need goals. And Laine is your guy to get goals there for sure. Again, Aho, great passer. That could be someone really good to work with there on Laine's line. And then Teravainen as well is a good offensive forward there as well. Third line, and this is where it gets you're picking from spare pickings, to be honest. Matthias Micheli, Anton Lundell, and Mikael Granlund. Lundell is probably the best player there. He's really under the radar as a really good center for Florida. Granlund has had a great year with San Jose. He's really rejuvenated himself with the Sharks. Micheli is a guy who could score goals, and I think that you're going to need that if you're on the Capitals. What did I say on the Capitals? It's because I have the Caps game pulled up next to me. On the on Team Finland for sure. And then your fourth line, Eric Halla, Eli Tolvanen, and Joel Armia, and then Kotkaniemi is your extra. Yeah, Carter, this is a very weak offensive team for sure. This is probably the worst team of the tournament. Very, very weak.
Hold on. Patrick Laine will make up for it. He's on, technically, if he was healthy, he'd be on pace for 82 goals this season. Just saying.
All right. Okay, I understand that. But still, you look at this team, like the bottom six is very weak. Like
yes, 100%.
Yeah, like
the top six is good, but just the bottom six is not it.
The defense is also really, I'm going to be honest, it's really not it either. Esa Lindell, Miro Heiskanen's your first pairing. I think that's a lock. Both those guys were locks. Those are two players who is a real life pairing. Very good pairing at that. Lindell's better defensively. Heiskanen's actually pretty good two-way. Second pairing, Nico Mikkola and Olli Mata. Mikkola, good third pairing defenseman, not a second pairing guy. And then Olli Mata found himself out of the lineup a lot with Detroit, and with Utah they have injuries. So, and then third pairing, Välimäki and Rasmus Ristolainen. Jesus Christ. Yeah, definitely interesting third pairing there for sure. Välimäki, been good with Utah despite the injuries. Ristolainen, I will say this. He has been okay since coming to Philadelphia. He has played okay the last two seasons. Just he's not paid particularly well. And then Yoki Haru is my extra defender. So yeah, Carter, this is also a pretty relatively weak defensive core, if I'm being honest with you as well. Like, not strong on this either.
It's not very good.
You have Ristolainen on your D pairing. I'm not very.
Even
though I give him credit, but still.
Not even in your D pairing. In your best on best.
Yeah, that's a little concerning. The goaltending I would consider a strength. It's not really an advantage because I would say they probably have the third out of the third best goaltending in this tournament. But Saros, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and Kevin Lankinen. Saros is Saros. Luukkonen is a good backup, and then Lankinen's 10-0 on the road right now as a Canucks goalie. So he's come in and done some good work there for Vancouver. But yeah, this is what I have for Team Finland. It's not that strong. Carter, if you had to rank these teams from 4 to 1, how would you rank them?
Exactly in the way that we presented it. Just flipped.
Okay.
I'd go Finland 4, Sweden 3, US 2, Canada 1.
All right. I lean USA, but slightly. I slightly lean USA. The goaltending is the real tiebreaker for Team USA, but I have the exact ranking. I think that it's pretty consensus. Like, we know that the USA and Canada are going to be competing. They are the teams to beat most likely. Sweden is like the third best team. They're still good, but it's going to be a climb for them. And then Finland, it's going to be a hard tournament, most likely. And we could look back at this in 2 months when Finland wins the Four Nations and be like, wow, Nordic was an idiot when he, didn't put this and that on the roster. And Patty Laine scores 10 goals in 5 games to carry Team Finland to a gold medal. Or is it a trophy? Are they getting a trophy or a gold medal?
I have no idea. That I don't know.
All right, okay. All right. Well, that will conclude this episode of the NORDCAST. Carter, any final thoughts here?
College football is almost done. Football is almost done. Enjoy it while you can. College football conference championships are this weekend. Enjoy it. Okay. I wish everyone the best of luck in their fantasy football playoffs coming up too. Clinch your spots. Get in the postseason. Do I have anything else to say? Honestly, probably not.
We will be releasing our Four Nations rosters with our episode promotions because the Sweden, the rosters get announced the day this podcast drops. So we will not have like an update on what the rosters are either next week, or if we have time before our episode next week, we will make like a bonus episode or another episode that will tag on to this, talking about the rosters. Again, we got to check on how much time we'll have and things like that. But overall, we'll see what we can get done there. But that'll conclude this episode of the NORDCAST. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening to yet again another episode of the NORDCAST. If you enjoyed, please subscribe down below or follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you want to follow us on TikTok, we are at NORDCAST. If you want to follow us on Instagram or Twitter, follow at NORDCAST_. That'll do it for this episode. I'm Nordic. Thanks for listening from all the crew, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.